Hey, welcome to Ed, a podcast about the teaching of life. This is Conversation 75, and I'm your host, Shane Lawrence. Ed is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network powered by ATB. And this week I am joined by teacher Jessica Roberts. All right, awesome. Well, hi. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you virtually.
Yeah. Well, hey, how's your day been?
It is very busy around here. We are gearing up for the 8th graders to come over and visit our school on a field trip on Tuesday. So it's busy.
So do you do like a whole sort of open house kind of thing for them?
Yes. So this is our first year doing this. So we kind of are planning this thing where they have 19 different stops around school. And so they'll kind of see learning in action and different classes and teachers and that sort of thing.
Right on. Awesome. So it's actually like classroom observation, not so much like you're putting on a display or a show or anything.
Yeah, kind of. They just kind of get to see a day in the life of like a high schooler.
Cool. Well, why don't we start there? Like you teach high school. What specifically is your assignment at the moment?
So officially I have a title of Director of Digital Media here at Arlington High School. And the classes I teach, I'm one of 4 media arts teachers, and I teach film and video 2 production, digital journalism, and television production.
Right on. And do you have a background in that?
I do. I have a broadcast journalism degree from the University of Memphis. And I worked at local news stations and freelance video production firms around town. So
in addition to what you do now?
I don't have time to freelance anymore.
Okay.
Every now and then I will freelance to help out a friend or someone in a pinch, but no, I don't freelance anymore.
Okay. So let me ask you the straight question. What do you like more? Do you like the freelancing or do you like what you're doing now?
I absolutely love teaching much more than being in the real world, I guess. My impact is greater. It does, if that makes sense. At the end of the day, I absolutely have impacted someone's life here. So
how do you deal with, have you ever been confronted by students who are like, well, why aren't you, doing this in the real world? How come you're here? Do you ever get that?
Yeah, all the time. And and I tell kids it's a lot of reasons. One, the video production world and the TV world, the hours are insanely hard. And so it's difficult to explain why I would choose high school. But again, it kind of boils down to I get to work with high schoolers and get to teach them something that's, fun. So
yeah, I hear you. I kind of have a similar path. I don't have like a full on degree. I do have some education in it and a lot of self-education, mentoring, and that kind of thing. But I made a go of it for a while and just like, oh no, I want to be married and happy.
Yeah. And not stressed. And
not stressed.
I worked 2 years at a local TV station, so I definitely got my fill of breaking news and, that sort of thing. It contributed to my anxiety and, sleepless nights and stuff. It's hard to calm down from that sort of stuff. So
you chose the easiest, most stress-free job you could think of, which was teaching?
No, absolutely. That is not how that segued. That did not segue very well, did it? But no, I chose something that gave me an opportunity to be myself. It gave me the passion, like putting my passion into students and helping them see that, the working hard is what can be fun about something. So.
I like that. It's really hard for me not to go off on these big tangents because I am also a film studies teacher, film production. So anytime I meet somebody who does the same thing, it's just like, oh, let's talk.
Suddenly we just became best friends.
Oh yeah. Well, literally, I think in my school division, which is one of the largest divisions in my province, I think it's the second largest. There are 3 of us total.
Yeah.
Who teach film studies and production. Like
gotcha.
We are a rare bird. So.
Well, I will say that I'm from Tennessee. I don't know if you can tell from my accent or not.
Yeah.
I try to keep it not, I try to keep it in check. Tennessee actually has a very booming video production. We call it media arts down here. And so it acts like we are one of the largest high schools in the state. We have around 2,100 students, and over 400 of those, give or take, are enrolled in a film class here at the school. So we are one of the biggest programs.
That's huge. Wow.
There's 7 different courses. I know that there are schools around the country that are big into this, but Tennessee specifically has a very strong program. We have many schools among the state that do this. And in my county alone, I know of at least probably 6 schools that have a functioning television station in their high school. Yeah, it's
so like a closed circuit kind of thing, just in the house.
Yeah, some have a closed circuit, and some publish their stuff to the web, and then some schools. I know of like 4 schools specifically. They actually have public access stations with the city.
Wow.
That they live in. So
wow, that's cool. I mean, I always read. I used to teach English. I don't anymore, but I used to teach English, and I would read a novel to the kids, and it takes place in an American high school. And central to part of the story is that they have an in-house station that actually, goes on to local, public access. And it just like, yeah, whatever. It's just a story. It's kind of outlandish, but this is actually a real thing. Okay.
Yes, and so we actually just started ours up here at Arlington Public Access Station, and we've had it at our school now for I think going on 2 years. So, and the students provide TV shows for the station, and we run the Board of Education meetings on the station as well.
Wow.
So,
wow. I mean, I'd love to pick your, get really nerdy about gear and whatever else, but maybe we'll just leave that for, off air.
Yes.
So, okay. So you said that, your transition though from working in television to teaching, it wasn't just like a switch. I mean, what was that process like for you? Like, how did you come to that realization?
No, it was like a switch for me.
Oh.
So essentially what happened was I was working at the station, and I had just graduated, and my former film teacher at my high school actually was going to retire mid-year and asked me to take over for the rest of the year. And pretty much it was, can you come in Monday? And so I came in Monday. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was one of those things, and I really loved it. I was only a temporary sub for that year. So I spent 8 months teaching film and really, really enjoyed it. And then applied for a job at another school after that. And that's kind of been, I'm going on 10 years, I believe, now.
Holy smoke. So in Tennessee, is it the situation where you can just sort of, for lack of a better way to phrase it, maybe it's indelicate, but like you can just walk in off the street and be a teacher?
You can kind of. You obviously have to have a college degree, and you kind of have to know what you're teaching about. They have things called praxis tests, and so you take a content knowledge test based on what you're teaching. And then if you are approved by the school district and the state, you have 2 years to get your teaching license. And teaching licenses are through an approved and accredited college.
Right. Okay.
That sort of
So
thing.
that's pretty similar to other things. I have a friend of mine from Florida, and he just said when he decided to be a teacher, he said the only requirement was that you show up to the interview with pants. So a little more stringent up there in Tennessee. So
yes.
So all right, that's okay. So and now you're doing the film production. Is it just the film production that you teach then?
Yeah. Currently that's what I teach. I always tell the kids if they ever try to make me teach something else, like I wouldn't agree. I love what I teach so much. And it's one of the kids' favorite class. So
it's nice to have kids, for the most part coming through the door. You just know you don't have to sell it to them, right? You're not like, come on guys, American history is important.
Yeah.
It's
and
exciting.
I tell people all the time, like I am begging my kids to leave my class to go to their next class, like I have to kind of shoo them away.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love that feeling. I mean, I just got the third draft of a script from one of my students who isn't taking film studies till next semester.
Oh, so yeah, doing work
Like,
off the clock,
oh yeah,
as
yeah,
I call
and
it.
he's not the only. I know for a fact in my high school film class, I've got at least 3 groups that are going to walk through the door on day 1 with their script done.
Yeah,
So that's pretty
that's
exciting.
that's great.
Yeah, yeah. But you say you're really into the ed tech thing. So I mean, obviously there's all like the film tech thing, but when I think of ed tech, I think of maybe a different category of tech. So how does that factor into what you do?
So my school went to one with iPad Pros, the 12.9 iPad Pros.
Ooh.
But even before that, I had been a big believer in integrating technology into the classroom just by default, being a film and video teacher.
Hmm.
But I'm a new generation kind of teacher where I was always discovering new and fun things to try out, like Kahoot or, something to add into the classroom to give it that vivacious feeling. And so that's kind of where I fell in the ed tech crowd, I guess is what it is. So I'm constantly looking for technology resources that add to my classroom dynamic, and that I'm able to share with other people too. So, because at the end of the day, I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
And so it may look like organized chaos in here, but we actually, utilize tools to help get the learning across.
So, okay, I'm going to ask you a really broad question, then I'm going to ask you a really specific one.
Okay.
So the first is, okay, so the tech, what kind of tech do you just use in your film classes?
In my film classes, it's more of like, what technology don't we use? I feel like we have MacBook Airs that we edit on. We have 60 down here. Yes, it's incredible. Every student at my school, so that's 2,100 students, they have the iPad Pro 12.9 inch. And so we utilize that pretty heavily, apps and stuff like that. As far as like video equipment and stuff, we have probably 30 cameras, maybe a little bit less, maybe 25 or so, and microphones, and I have Apple TVs and HDMI projectors, and it's a whole lot of tech happening down here.
Oh my gosh, that's bonkers. Because yeah, again, I can really talk shop here, but I mean, I'll just off the cuff here. I did film studies 8, film studies 9. And combined 10, 20, 30. Sorry, where I'm from, we call 11, 10, 11, 12, 10, 20, 30. I don't know why. But anyway, high school, did the entire program with no cameras and 3 iMacs.
Yep. Now and it is very possible to do, in like lots of times we do stuff on our iPhones. The students will do stuff on their iPhones. I tell kids all the time, just, if you have a $20 camera or a $20,000 camera, you can still make the same type of product. It's the storytelling inside. Technology doesn't make you better. So.
Yes, I absolutely. I've seen some really horrible films shot on, some really nice cameras. Like, you don't know what you're doing. Absolutely. If you know what you're doing, it's going to show. So,
yep.
So what about, okay, here's my specific question that I think will be really relevant for anyone who's doing like PBL, some sort of like where they're biting off really big chunks. Because I mean, film studies or I call it film studies, film production, by its nature, it's PBL. Like it's a giant project. So how do you help your students stay organized amidst a very complex, long-term, huge task? What do you do? All right, we're going to get back to our conversation in a minute, but first I want to tell you about Let's Do Coffee. It's a podcast by the Maji Center at NAIT. Each episode features an interview with a student entrepreneur or NAIT alumnus. They dive into topics that explore their challenges, questions, and fears involved in operating their own companies. The episodes come out every 2 weeks, and if you want to read the show notes or find out more, you can go to nait.ca/Maji Center. That's NAIT.ca/MAWJICENTRE. All right, let's get back to me and Jessica. So how do you help your students stay organized amidst a very complex, long-term, huge task? What do you do?
So I utilize, I call it the order your quarter. The school year is broken into 4 quarters, and I use digital menu choice boards for their entire quarter. So I call it a menu, and they choose from, they have salads, appetizers, main course, and desserts. And so the main courses is what makes up the bulk of their time, which is they do documentary projects, and then they do a secondary short film project. So they have 2 of those a quarter. And then the salad is stuff that just kind of like helps keep our class in motion, which is like news articles or sports score updates. Because we operate a website in my class, it takes a lot of, kind of just little tasks. And then the appetizer is just a social media focus. So they post daily to a social media. There's 5 different social medias. And then the desserts are fun things. So they pick what they do for the entire quarter at the beginning of the quarter, and then they have until the end of the quarter to get everything done.
So that's just whatever they decide they want to do.
Yes. And so they pick their own like working assignments for the quarter, and then they have spot checks along the way. And so for that class specifically, I'm talking about digital journalism. It's like a job. It's like we're a production firm. So they can spend 15 minutes on something and be done, and then they'll spend like 5 weeks on one of their short film projects.
Right.
So they kind of get to choose their own time. It's an interesting class.
Yeah. Is it mostly news focused, or do you actually produce narrative film as well? Or
they can choose. We get assigned stuff from our school that they would like to help out as well. So last quarter they got to do little short film projects. This quarter we are helping build some videos for our newly launched website for the school. We launched a new website, so they wanted some videos kind of explaining the stuff. So we got hired out, essentially by our school to do videos. They get to do our documentary. Our documentaries are pretty much our bread and butter, which is kind of what me and you would call NAT packages, where they're interviews and they're B-roll video of things happening, and we tell stories that way without any reporter track.
Right.
And that's kind of what they like the most. And then next year, next semester, we'll work a little bit on short film narratives and that sort of thing.
Awesome. Do you have the same kids like from quarter to quarter to quarter?
Yes. So you keep my kids stay with me from August to May. So it's kind of like they will build their skills, as
That's
they
really
improve.
cool. So you get them for a whole year.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Yeah.
Yep.
I get mine for like 5 months. So
yeah. Well, that's better than,
Oh yeah. No, I'm not complaining. And I mean, I am massively proud of what they do, because we do one short film starting from day one.
Yeah.
And we just give her. So
yeah. So does your class work as like a group? Do y'all decide on a script together that y'all all produce?
No, they work in their own little production units. So and I mean, every year I don't have any other course that is so dynamic, because every year it's like I'm teaching a new course. It really is like, it's just completely different. So
Absolutely.
I mean, the first year, 2 years ago I had 6 short films. This past year I had 12. But we really changed up the format, and we always have a genre focus. So usually, it's been like the first year we did was Western, and we did action. We did something else. I can't remember what it was. And then, we did thriller. And then, but last year with the kids really, fed into, they had a lot of their own ideas at the end of the year. So at the end of that year, we decided next year what we were going to do. And they decided they wanted to just have an opportunity to focus on one area and really polish it. So that was our theme, was just polish. So they didn't actually have to produce a full narrative film. A lot of them still did, but some of them were just like, I want to make a film that's got I just want to do a really great fight scene. So great, go do a fight scene. Not, go off to a fight scene, but okay, good. We'll get some stunt choreographers in, we'll do some training, and then you'll go do your fight scene. But, other kids wanted to do something that was just like, really just focused on drama and like eliciting emotion. So it was a very wide variety of stuff. So, and this coming year, we're doing, the theme is based off of a film called The 5 Obstructions, which, have you ever heard of that film?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's so
I have
good.
not.
It's, Lars von Trier before he was Lars von Trier. And he's challenging his mentor, a filmmaker, a mentor of his, to remake a film that his mentor made many years ago 5 times. And each time he's applying a set of obstructions. So, and they're
Ah.
torturous. They're just torturous. Like the first obstruction, he says, okay, you have to, remake this film. And it's a very artsy, strange film, but it has to be shot in Cuba. It cannot have any cut longer than 12 frames. And I can't remember what the other thing was, but the point is, the kids are really inspired by this idea. So what they did is they actually created their own obstructions, and then they chose them literally from a hat. And that's the theme we had for this coming year. But anyways, I am getting off track here. So let's get back to sort of the heart of all of this, I think, which is, your students. What do you like most about doing what you do?
Like it, I don't know. That is the quintessential question, for a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I like working individually with students and helping them kind of get that aha moment. I love when they struggle. Like today, I had a student, they came back and their microphone didn't work. And he was
Yep.
like, this is the easiest and the hardest class I have ever taken.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so easy to just do work. But at the same time, it's an accountability constantly in your head about stuff. And so it is so real life to them, and teaching them to struggle and to fail and to redo and recut and all of the sort of the life skills that are important,
Mm-hmm.
perseverance and hard work and time management. And so when you ask my kids what they've learned, that's usually what they say. So
Yeah.
At the end of the day, when, the ultimate goal is to make kids have a life skill when they leave. And my class is ultimately that for me.
Right. Even if they're not walking out with, a forever burning passion to make films, they've at least learned all those other things
Yeah.
we talked about. Yeah.
Yeah. And so even if they, forget every film skill ever,
Mm-hmm.
they, remember the struggle. They remember the organization needed. They remember time management. They remember how to talk to people face to face,
Mm-hmm.
which lots of that stuff is lost these days. So having a
Yeah.
class like that is still very important and very valid.
Absolutely. I think it is a real sort of, it thrusts them into a very grown up space a lot of the time.
Absolutely. You can
Yeah.
definitely tell who my younger students are with their maturity wise and versus
Mm-hmm.
the older students who have maybe taken a class like this before,
Mm-hmm.
because just the dynamic of those two types of students immediately,
Yeah.
changes the shape of the class. So
Yeah. Yeah. But it's nice. Do you have combined classes then?
I do. So I have mixed level students in my upper level class. The digital journalism class is comprised of students that were hand selected. So they can be upper level film students. They can be students that have never taken a film production class before.
Mm-hmm.
They can be, second year film students. It really is just kind of like a mix of students, and it's fun that way. It makes it like a job, like a workplace where it's lots of teamwork and
Mm-hmm.
picking up the slack or really applying yourself if you don't know how to do something. So the
Yeah.
other classes I teach are mixed age level. So they still are tiered, I guess, in a way where the advanced level classes typically are seniors,
Mm-hmm.
and the level 2 classes typically sophomores, which is 15-year-olds. So
Yeah. I have to translate from Canada,
I know.
so I have to translate junior. It's freshman, sophomore, junior, senior.
Yes.
Yes, but I just have to do the conversion in my brain to figure out what that is every time. Yeah, it's nice though when you have those environments. We always, every other course it seems is, it's always grade level, but there is a real benefit in some ways to having that opportunity for mentorship. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So another thing that I wanted to talk about, we just started a performing and visual arts fine arts academy at my school.
Ooh.
So students that are exceptional artists or, applying their self and want to pursue this in college, we started a fine arts academy for them. And part of some of our requirements inside that academy is mentoring the younger students that are in the academy. So the older students are mentors to the younger students. And so it really hits home that not only do you have to be an upperclassman and a leader, but you have to actually lead by example and be a role model. So having that and seeing that in the classroom and in the works and that sort of thing, you're modeling behavior.
Yeah, I love that. I think, the real at the core of a lot of this too is just having a worthwhile target to aim at. Like you say, you get kids coming there and they want to be there because they want to get at the end of whatever whatever the course is. Like I've taught English and social for a good long time as well. And I mean, I never have any kids come in and say, let me at it. I really want to, I want to knock this out of the park. It's like maybe one. I'm just thinking about this one student actually that I have. He's doing turning in his third draft of his script. The original draft of the script was written by another student who's not in his production group, but he just he said, "I'm not that great at writing. Could you help me with this?" And so this other student just like, "Yeah, sure." And that's with no expectations of course credit or grades or anything for it. It's just like no, they just want to help each other out, and that's when things are really working, right?
Yeah, well, especially if they see someone struggling, and even without prompting, they go over to help.
Yeah,
and that's something that's big too. Like knowing that someone needs help and reaching out before you're even asked.
Yeah,
is something that I see a lot of too down here.
Well, how do you help it's great when it happens by itself, but it's not always going to happen by itself. And what do you do to help sort of build a team environment?
So in many ways, I set them up for failure. Maybe I overload them with a lot of things and they have to really kind of lean on each other to get some of the stuff done. But I also have student manager roles. I have an editor-in-chief and I have an assistant editor-in-chief, and I have 3 different directors over certain items. And then I have social media managers. So everyone kind of has somebody to report to.
Oh.
So if there's somebody wrong or something's gone wrong, they go and talk to their director or their manager about it. And then that person tries to troubleshoot. And if that doesn't work, they go ask the assistant editor-in-chief or the editor-in-chief. And if that doesn't work, they can come ask me for help. So there's kind of like layers built in of people to check with before just kind of saying, oh, it's broken or it doesn't work or I don't know how. So that it's kind of like a fail safe kind of thing. So.
Well, and if you're dealing with every single problem that arises, you're going to be overwhelmed. Yeah,
absolutely. And so my goal to be frank, is to not do anything like it.
And there's the quote I'm going to put on the poster.
It is absolutely supposed to be a student managed, student run, student produced class. And so if I'm doing all of the work, it would just completely miss the point. So all of these production classes where the teachers are the one pressing record and the teachers are the one editing the projects, and you've completely taken away life lessons for these students. So I joke and say my goal is to not do anything, but at the end of the day, the goal is to not do anything as an adult. If I completely took away the struggle and the failure and the hardship of the students, I've completely taken away what I'm trying to give to them.
Yes, absolutely. And you have to also have a mind to the fact that your course is very much focused on a real career. And if they don't get a taste of what it's actually like, if they get film production light, and they're like, oh, I'm going to try that. And they spend, $20,000 at a film school and they're like, oh my goodness. Right. That's a rude awakening.
Yeah. Even deadlines and sticking to them is a rude awakening. Like deadlines are a real thing no matter where you go. So just knowing that it's looming and it's coming up, and I'm very quick to type in zeros on the day that it's due. And they're like, why'd you type a 0 in? It's not due until the end of class. And I was like, I said it was due today, not a specific time period. So it's very much a job down here where the zero goes in first, and then when you turn it in, that's when you get paid. So,
Yeah.
so we have lots of bad grades sometimes, which is an incentive for them sometimes to complete their work. So it's a job. It's definitely a class that runs like a workplace environment.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, here in your Twitter bio, I'm suddenly getting a little bit of a sense of this now. I think the first thing says troublemaker.
Yes. So I tell my kids all the time, like if you're not in trouble sometimes, either with yourself or with equipment, or you know what I mean, kind of like if you're not stirring up some trouble, then you're not making, you're not making a name for yourself. You're not becoming known. So lots of stuff, the old saying is sometimes better to ask for forgiveness than for permission, so lots of things we may attempt or try out, not knowing if we can do it. So I guess I'm a troublemaker, but sometimes there's good trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, okay. So here's my question. I mean, how does that factor in terms of like the one that always comes up for me every year is permission to, to use a certain location. I mean, I'm always encouraging kids, especially like if they don't have permission to shoot in a private place, then you don't shoot, period.
Right.
But I mean, how do you, I won't lie. I mean, there was a time when I was in film school and I did not have permission to shoot at a place and we shot there anyway. And we sweet talked to security guard for a while someone went off and shot some more stuff. And, yes. I've done that. But so how do you deal with that kind of thing? Or is that what we're talking about here?
Well, kind of. That is kind of what you're talking about. As long as you're not putting yourself in danger while you're making the trouble. Like, I don't know if I see I don't know how to explain it. It's you're not making trouble the kind where you should be getting in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, not endangering others or.
Correct. So filming we pretty much film in public places, around here. But there are spots where we've tried to film and we've just been flat out told no. And, sometimes you have to listen to authoritative, voices. Oh, yeah. And that's part of it. But yeah, it's kind of being a media journalist sometimes is breaking boundaries and crossing and blurring lines. And so if everyone always just kind of played by the rules, we wouldn't have a lot of things. That's kind of like, the opening of a whole new discussion.
Yes, absolutely it is. Well, I think we've battled through enough interruptions that I think we've actually managed to cobble together a real conversation here.
Yes.
So, Jessica, before we say goodbye, how can people maybe see the kind of work that you do or get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I'd love for everyone to check out my students' work. We are at ahstigerlife.com. And then all of our social media handles are at AHS Tiger Life. Right. And to find me specifically, my Twitter handle is at Jada the Rizzo. I know. Nice. Well, I got that back when Twitter was invented. So that's how long I've had my Twitter account for, since 2008 or whatever. So I've just kind of kept that. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'd love for everyone to check out our stuff.
Absolutely. Well, I will definitely share that out in the show notes. So, Jessica, thank you so much for being so giving of your time today. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me on the show.
Right on. Well, we'll see you out there in the Twitterverse.
Yes. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
Bye. This week's episode of Ed is brought to you by ATB. You know they power the Alberta Podcast Network, but they can also power your digital banking. If you want to save some money in paper, you can go digital with ATB's new digital no-fee all-in bank account. Say goodbye to paper statements and say hello to easier everyday banking. You'll also earn interest on higher balances. Visit atb.com to sign up today and start making your bank work for you. All right, and if you want to get in touch, you'd like to be a guest on the show, you can email me at theedpodcast@gmail.com or hit me up on Twitter at theedpodcast. If you want to listen to more of Ed, you can head over to the website, theedpodcast.podbean.com, or you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcatcher of your choice. Just search up Ed Conversations. Ed is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network powered by ATB. You can find this and all other member podcasts at albertapodcastnetwork.com. While you're there, you should check out Putting It Together. It's a podcast hosted by Kyle McDonald, and which I had the great pleasure of guesting on just recently. It's all about the works of Stephen Sondheim, and in his most recent episode, we talked about the West Side Story movie. Had a ton of fun, got to geek out about movies, and one of my favorite musicals of all time. Ed can also be heard on Voice Ed Radio. It's 24-hour internet broadcasting devoted to the best ideas in education. Just head over to voiced.ca. And on behalf of myself and Jessica, thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.